Hi, my name is Aditya. This is Krishay, and we just wanted to talk to you a little bit about tips for your first tournaments. Some of you who may be watching this have never gone to a tournament before and may be wondering a couple questions about how the tournament operates, how to go to the hotel. So we just wanted to address a few questions and a few good practices you should follow while at your first tournament. So the first thing is that you must be communicating with parents, roommates, and coaches regularly. And one thing that you should be doing is that installing the Remind app on your phone prior to a tournament. What will happen is coaches will usually send out a Remind code that you'll input to the Remind app, and then you can now receive notifications or major announcements from these coaches. A lot of the times they'll send out these important announcements like where lunch is or just general logistical information about the tournament. So it's really important you install the Remind app on your phone prior to the tournament and input the code the second the coaches tell you. If you are older than 13, make sure to join the team Slack. Slack is awesome for reminders, sharing prep, talking to friends, communicating with assistant coaches, preparing before a round, and sharing files. So it's really important that you join the Slack because that's where the majority of communication between teammates and the coaches will really happen. Also, make sure to input the appropriate phone numbers. The coaches will send out an email prior to the tournament starting saying, here are phone numbers for the head coaches or some of the assistant coaches. But make sure that when you input these phone numbers, you really only contact them if there's an emergency. You shouldn't be calling them regularly to resolve minor issues. These should only be used if there's some sort of emergency in the middle of the night or something. If it's an issue you can resolve yourself or can wait till the next day, generally don't call them. Another thing that's really important is that you contact and communicate with your parents very frequently. For some of you, this may be the first time you're away from home for an extended period of time, and your parents generally are worried about you and want to know how things are going. So texting them a couple times a day, maybe calling them a couple times a day is important so that they're not worried about what you're doing, what you're eating, how you're doing at the tournament, and also better for your peace of mind so that they don't constantly bother you and they don't call you in the middle of a round because you've already talked to them and communicated with them about how the things are going. And one more thing is that it's important that you communicate with roommates, get their phone numbers, have some sort of group chat, text them. At bigger tournaments like the Berkeley Debate Tournament, you may be rooming with teammates who are not in the same event as you. And at the Berkeley Debate Tournament, their events generally come back to the hotel at different times because the schedule for the tournament varies widely between events. So, if roommates are coming back to the hotel at different times, if there's some sort of issue, if you need to communicate with them, it's important that you have some sort of group chat and messaging and communication between them.
Yeah, so for many tournaments, you're traveling across the country or schools you've never been to before. So it's important that you arrive at the prescribed general meetup spot at the airport or at the school. So if it is a national tournament and you will end up going on a plane, make sure you bring your luggage to the school in the morning. And if you're a middle schooler, you can generally drop off the luggage at the front office or at the MPR. And the further instructions will be given to you by your coach. The second thing is make sure you're proactive and tell your teachers at least 2 weeks before the tournament what days you'll be missing and what time you'll be leaving class. Make sure you reschedule your assignments and tests accordingly. And teachers have generally been very supportive of our debate team. And make sure you're proactive and keep that impression up. They really like to see us succeed. And when you're at the airport, make sure you're at least 5 minutes early and on time with all your belongings at the right spot, checking in with the coach. This is essential so you don't make everyone else wait up on you. And also keep in mind an airport or these schools are public places with other people doing their normal daily activities. So be cognizant of others. Don't be too loud. It might be exciting to be somewhere which is not school or not home with your friends for the first time, but make sure you're aware of your noise and aware of how you're being respectable. And another important thing is sometimes coaches will say that the flight is really long and that you might have to eat at the airport itself. So if you are eating at the airport, make sure you pick up some food, whether it's for the plane or before, and you eat on time and not like a minute before you're boarding.
Yeah, so just to kind of elaborate on what Krishay was saying about being on time, there's a saying that Mr. Aiden likes to say, it's that if you're not 5 minutes early, you're late. A lot of the times there are many students at a tournament and we all have to meet down at the the lobby of a hotel before traveling to the tournament on a bus. And if you are late by a couple minutes, you're wasting the time of several students. Like an analogy can be, say there are 30 students at a tournament and you're late to the meetup by spot by 5 minutes. That's a collective of 2.5 hours that's being wasted just because you weren't able to get there on time when the coaches said you should be. Make sure to set several alarms. Saying my alarm didn't go off is not an excuse for being late. You and your roommates should set 1 to 2 alarms each and potentially call the front desk for a wake-up call. The odds of all of them failing like simultaneously is like incredibly low, and it's not a good excuse. Make sure to be there on time. And also keep in mind that you have to normally get earlier than you may normally do on the weekends. A lot of the times, like the rounds will start at 8 a.m. and you'd have to get down to the lobby by 7 a.m. So you may have to wake up by 6:30, which may be much earlier than you normally do on weekends. So it's important that you keep that in mind. Sleep early, still get your a proper amount of sleep, but make sure to get up early for these to get down to the hotel lobby on time.
So now that you're at the hotel, you have to make sure like you're being respectable and kind once again. So tournaments can be very exciting, but you have to make sure you're not too loud or obnoxious. There are other people living at the hotel and who are staying there. And keep in mind that you represent Harker wherever you go. So if you're being loud, that's the impression people have about Harker. Also, another thing is that many of these hotels have ties with the Harker school directly. So if you're acting up or you're being loud or we're getting noise complaints, they may refuse to host us the next time. The second thing is you're courteous to your roommate's sleep schedule. If you want to do prep, speaker drills, or listen to music, make sure you use earbuds and do not be disruptive of someone else's sleep schedule. The third thing is showering, and this is absolutely essential. Divide the showering times with your roommates. Someone can do it during the night, someone can do it in the morning, but you have to make sure everyone showers before the tournament. They have to be presentable and clean because that does leave an impression on the judges and on the Harker School. Regarding sleeping in beds, everyone has the right to a bed. No one should sleep on the floor or in the bathtub. You should have a comfort night's sleep in order to do well at the tournament, and you shouldn't let anyone really take that right away from you. The next thing is communicate with your roommates. If there is some type of minor issue, you should definitely resolve that and compromise with each other. But if it does escalate to a larger level that someone's not letting you sleep or someone's being too disruptive, definitely tell one of the assistant coaches or coaches, and they will resolve that. Another thing is that these hotels are very nice and they have pools, gyms, and other recreational facilities. But this is a debate tournament, so we're not going to be using those. You can admire them, you can look at them, but do not use them.
Okay, now that you're at the tournament, you're wondering maybe how to act. The pairings for the rounds will usually come up on Tab Room. You might get a text alert or you might get an email if you've signed up for those on Tab Room. And they'll tell you the meeting time and the time the round starts. And you should check whether you're Flight 1 or Flight 2. Know when the round starts and make sure to be at the round at least 5 minutes before the time it starts. You may get disqualified before, you may get disqualified if you are late to the round, and the time the round starts is not the time that you should be leaving. Another thing that you should be doing is uploading all your documents to the wiki. There's another lecture that teaches you how to do this, but this is important because this is Harker policy, and it maintains a standard of debate that Harker tries to keep up. And with regards to speech documents, you should always upload your opponent's speech documents to our group Google Drive in the speech doc folder. At tournaments, usually what will happen is there will be a folder that says speech docs within a tournament Google Drive folder. And if you upload all your speech docs, title them appropriately, this helps us prep more efficiently against certain teams rather than scattering and scrambling for resources during limited time before a round. Also, do not be secretive about prep. Again, we're all on the same team. One person succeeding means we all succeed. And if you share your prep among your teammates, it gives a greater chance that everybody does well. Again, this is pretty self-explanatory, but just don't make fun of students from Harker, other schools. And especially one thing that's important to keep in mind is don't make fun of judges. A lot of the times I know it can get frustrating if you lose because you think the judge made a mistake. You said something, the judge didn't pick it up. But just be cognizant of the fact that judges are humans too. They may not catch everything you say. Don't make fun of the judges. And also make sure to just support your teammates. You know, you should support them when they win. But you should also, more importantly, support them when they lose and be able to comfort them and help them.
So additional guidelines for the tournament are most of the time you'll be paired with an assistant coach who will help you prepare for your rounds. So make sure you're very thorough in communicating with them, and they are there to help you. And one of the things is you should tell them who you're hitting, who your judge is. They might have experience with that judge. And also make sure that you read the judge paradigms on Tab Room, and that literally can break or make the round for you. So you should really work towards reading those. Another thing is during many of the tournaments, you will have some spare time. So make sure you do rebuttal redos, or at least practice and see how you could strategically or time efficiently improve your speech. And a lot of the times you'll face opponents who read the same arguments, or even students from the same team who are reading the same exact case snag or the same exact negative speech. So if you have already strategized how to optimize your previous round, you're more likely to win. Another thing is that some tournaments, like the Berkeley Debate Tournament, have long periods of time between debate rounds, often lasting up to 3 hours. So it means you have a lot of time to eat, you have a lot of time to do redos, you have a lot of time to talk to friends, work with assistant coaches. So don't do everything in the last minute, and plan your time accordingly. Make sure you follow the buddy system if you're in high school, or if you are in middle school, you should be traveling with a chaperone for many of these tournaments, unless there are explicit exceptions or details provided to you. Another thing is that you should make sure to eat. And although you may not feel hungry because you're nervous or excited, it's important that you maintain the same energy levels for all your rounds. And the brain really does function on the energy and the food you do eat. So even though you may think it might make your stomach hurt or impede you from performing as well, it's kind of important that you eat. It's kind of self-explanatory.
Okay, personal belongings. One thing that's important is that you bring and wear formal clothing at the tournament. You represent Harker, so you should look respectable and clean. And also judges generally may be more receptive to you if you are more formal, and it shows that you take the activity seriously and are there to present serious arguments. Don't wear, joggers, sweatpants, t-shirts to your debate rounds. It's important that you do bring these types of clothes, because there will be times you're not debating and you have to travel in the airplane. But when you're in the debate round, you are a debater. You should be representing Harker in an appropriate fashion, and this includes wearing formal clothes. Again, bring just general toiletries, toothpaste, toothbrush, deodorant. There's no need to bring soap. Hotels will usually have that. Again, bring some sort of comfortable clothes, because you will be traveling in an airplane sometimes, or in a car, definitely. So you will need to have some sort of clothes that are not just debate clothes. If you have a debate stand, make sure to bring one. Oftentimes you can ask some of the debate coaches at the middle or upper school, because they will usually have debate stands that you can borrow for the tournament. And they will definitely be handing out timers at the middle and upper school. So make sure to pick one up before you go to your debate tournament. Another thing, obviously self-explanatory, make sure to bring laptop and phone chargers, and respect other people's personal belongings. I mean, everyone has their own right to privacy. It's important that you don't go into other people's suitcases. You just make sure you maintain that privacy and communication between your roommates.
Probably most importantly, managing stress. Stress is a natural part of debate tournaments, and at times it can be a motivator, but do not let it consume you. You should definitely keep in mind that your record does not define who you are, how smart you are, what your character is. And always keep in mind that you've learned a great deal about politics, economics, and critical theories, and just overall argumentation that many students are not exposed to. And you should be proud of the hard work and knowledge you've acquired and the skills you've learned. So always keep that in mind. The record will not define you. If you are feeling a little bit stressed or in an unhealthy way, or if something is really bothering you, you should talk to an assistant coach or an older and trusted teammate, and they'll always have some words of advice, or they can help direct you to the right place. And one personal thing which has really helped me is breathing exercises, which can help you feel more calm and composed. So if you ever think that you need some healthy way to deal with the stress, you should definitely try some of those out, and they're pretty simple.
Yeah, I mean, just lastly, make sure to have fun. Debate tournaments can be a fun time to hang out with friends, learn new concepts, meet new people. And some of you, it could be your first time away from home, and it could be really exciting. Debate's an amazing learning opportunity. Make friends and make sure to have fun at these debate tournaments, while also being responsible. Thank you, and I hope these tips will help you for your first couple debate tournaments. And if you have any more questions, you can always reach out to anyone at the upper school or any mentors you have. Thank you.